Girlfriend dumped me after she found out I booed at the Super Bowl when Taylor Swift came on. What's up, everyone? I, 29M, was dating this girl, Hannah, 27F, for 2 years, and honestly, I thought everything was good. We had our little differences, but nothing that ever made me question the relationship. She was really into Taylor Swift, which I never had a problem with. I wouldn't call myself a fan, but I never made fun of it or acted like it was dumb. She liked what she liked, and I let her have that. If she played Taylor in the car, I didn't complain. If she talked about some hidden meaning in a song, I'd nod along. I figured that's just what you do when you care about someone. Then the Super Bowl happened, and suddenly I was single. I was at a party with some friends, mostly mine. Everyone was into the game, drinking, yelling, just having a good time. It wasn't even about who was playing. Half the people there didn't even care about football. They were just there for the commercials, the halftime show, or to hang out. When the camera panned to Taylor Swift in the stands, the whole room reacted. Some people cheered, some booed, some didn't care at all. I was in the moment, feeling the energy of the room, and I let out a boo. It wasn't serious. I wasn't trying to be mean, just playing along with the atmosphere. I didn't think twice about it. Hannah did. She looked at me like I had just personally insulted her. I didn't even realize anything was wrong until I noticed she wasn't talking anymore. I asked her what was up, and she just kept shaking her head like she couldn't believe what she just saw. The night went on, but she barely spoke to me. Anytime I tried to bring it up, she'd just brush me off or say I wouldn't get it. At one point, she muttered something about me showing my true colors, which didn't even make sense. I let it go, figuring she'd snap out of it. She didn't. The next day, she was still acting weird. She wasn't texting like she usually did, and when I asked her what was wrong, she hit me with some comment about how she didn't think she could be with someone who didn't respect women. That completely threw me off. I asked her what that had to do with anything, and she said my reaction during the game proved a lot to her. I told her it was never that deep. I didn't boo because I hated Taylor Swift, or because I had some agenda against successful women. It was just a random reaction at a party. I thought that would be enough, but she said she needed time to think. A few days went by, and she was still distant. When I pushed her on it, she told me she had been doing a lot of reflecting, and she didn't feel emotionally safe with me anymore. That's when I knew where this was going. The way she was talking, it was like she had convinced herself I was some terrible person. I reminded her we'd been together for 2 years and she never once felt unsafe around me. So how did that change overnight? But she had made up her mind. By the end of the week, she broke up with me over a boo. At first, I was just confused. I went over everything in my head 100 times, trying to figure out if I missed something. One week, we were talking about moving in together, and the next, I was some toxic person she needed to get away from. I kept thinking, there's no way it was really about the Super Bowl. It didn't make sense, but she wouldn't give me any other explanation. I don't know if I dodged a bullet, or if I really just don't understand how serious this was to her. Maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut, or maybe this was going to happen no matter what, and the boo was just the excuse she needed. Either way, I guess it doesn't matter now. Edit. Alright, so I wasn't expecting this to blow up the way it did. I figured some people would have thoughts, but I didn't think it would turn into a full-on debate. I've been reading through the comments, and there are a few things people keep bringing up, so I figured I'd address them all at once. First, a lot of people are asking if there were any signs before this that she might have been looking for a way out. Honestly, I don't know. At the time, I didn't think so. She wasn't acting distant before the Super Bowl, and we weren't fighting or anything. If anything, she seemed really happy with me. But looking back, I guess I could see how maybe she was already in her head about something. There were little things, like her making more comments about me not being as passionate about things as she was, or how she wished I understood her more. But I never thought it was a deal breaker. Then there's the whole, this wasn't just about the boo argument. A lot of people are saying she probably felt this way for a while and just needed a final push to end things. And yeah, that could be true. Maybe the Super Bowl thing was just the tipping point, but that's kind of what makes it so frustrating. If she had doubts about our relationship, why not just talk to me about them? Instead, she acted like everything was fine, right up until she decided I was suddenly a bad person. Another thing I keep seeing is people saying I must have booed in a way that was really aggressive or mean. I promise you, It wasn't anything crazy. I didn't scream at the TV or make a big deal out of it. It was just a quick, instinctive reaction to the moment. A bunch of other people at the party were reacting too, some cheering, some booing, some not caring at all. It wasn't like I stood up and went on a rant about how much I hated Taylor Swift. And then, of course, there are the people saying she dodged a bullet, or that I must secretly hate women or whatever. Not much I can say to that except that it's ridiculous. I've always supported her interests, even when they weren't my thing. I never made fun of her for liking Taylor Swift. I've sat through entire albums, listened to her theories about the songs, even watched the Eras Tour movie with her. If I really had a problem with Taylor Swift or successful women, I wouldn't have done any of that. At the end of the day, I still don't think this was really about the Super Bowl. Whether she had been looking for an excuse or just had some kind of weird revelation, I'll probably never know. Either way, I guess I just have to move on. Update 1. It's been a little over a week since Hannah broke up with me, and I thought that would be the end of it. I was ready to just move on, let her believe whatever she wanted to believe, and focus on my own life. But apparently, she wasn't done. At first, she was completely silent. No texts, no calls, nothing. I took that as a sign she was serious about this and didn't want to talk, so I respected that. But then I started hearing from mutual friends, ones who weren't even at the Super Bowl party, telling me that Hannah was saying some pretty wild things about me. I didn't take it seriously at first. I figured maybe she just needed to vent, and if trashing me to her friends helped her feel better, whatever. But then I saw what she was actually saying, and I couldn't believe it. According to her, I was a closet misogynist who showed his true colors during the Super Bowl. She told people she had been ignoring the red flags in our relationship for too long, and that my reaction at the party finally made her realize she couldn't be with someone like me. Apparently, I was hostile and aggressive about it, and she just didn't feel safe anymore. Safe. That word pissed me off more than anything. Because it's not just a breakup excuse. It's a way to make people think I was dangerous. And that's exactly what happened. Some of her friends started blocking me on social media. A couple of people I barely knew sent me messages about how disappointed they were in me. One guy, who I was never even that close with, posted some long rant about how this is why we need to listen to women when they say they feel unsafe. And I was just sitting there staring at my phone, trying to process how this was happening. All over a boo. I reached out to Hannah. I didn't go in angry or start accusing her of anything. I just asked if we could talk. She ignored me at first, but eventually she sent back a short message, basically saying she had nothing left to say, and that she hoped I would take this as a learning experience. A learning experience for what? Not reacting to things in a way she doesn't like? At that point, I realized there was no fixing this. She had already rewritten the story in her head, and nothing I said was going to change that. But what really set me off was when a friend of mine told me she had been talking to my ex, Rachel. I dated Rachel a few years ago, and let's just say it didn't end well. She was manipulative, constantly twisting things around to make herself the victim. And when I finally broke up with her, she went on a full-blown smear campaign against me. Most people saw through it, but a few of her friends still think I'm some kind of monster. So for Hannah to go out of her way to contact her, that wasn't just venting, that was her actively trying to ruin my reputation. At this point, I am not even sad about the breakup anymore. I am just pissed. She could have ended things and moved on like a normal person, but instead, she is out here making sure everyone sees me as some kind of deek, and the worst part? People are actually believing her. So now I'm stuck trying to figure out what to do. Do I defend myself? Do I just let it go and hope people forget about it? I don't know. But what I do know is that Hannah isn't as innocent as she pretends to be. Final update. Alright, so things escalated way beyond what I expected. I was just trying to move on, but Hannah made that impossible. If she had just been venting to her friends, I could have ignored it. If she had just blocked me and gone about her life, I wouldn't have cared, but she wanted to ruin my name. She made that clear when she reached out to my ex, but I didn't realize just how far she was willing to take it. I found out through a mutual friend that she had been telling people I was abusive. She was saying that I mocked her interests for years and constantly belittled her for liking Taylor Swift. She even claimed I was controlling and manipulative whenever she tried to express herself. When I heard that, I laughed out loud because it was so insane. I never once made fun of her for liking Taylor. If anything, I let her talk about it non-stop, even when I didn't care. And controlling. She was the one who constantly made passive-aggressive comments about how I wasn't as passionate about things as she was. But none of that mattered because people believed her. I lost friends over this. People I'd known for years started acting weird around me, ignoring my texts, or keeping their responses short. Some of them flat out blocked me. One of my friends, who I thought actually knew me, sent me a long message saying that while he didn't think I was a bad guy, he needed to reevaluate our friendship. That one actually stung. I wasn't just losing people I barely talked to, I was losing actual friends. At this point, I knew I had to do something. I wasn't about to sit there and let Hannah rewrite history, so I reached out to the people who had distanced themselves and asked if they wanted to hear my side. Some ignored me, but a few actually listened. I told them exactly what happened, that I booed in a crowded room where other people were booing too, that it wasn't some personal attack, that I had supported Hannah's interests for 2 years without ever putting her down. I even sent some screenshots of old messages where she was praising me for being so understanding about her music obsession. Some people realized how ridiculous the whole thing was and apologized. Others didn't care. It didn't matter to them that Hannah was exaggerating or that she was the one actively reaching out to my ex to spread lies. They had already decided I was the bad guy. The final straw was when I found out she had actually gone to my job. I work in marketing, and my company is big on social media. Hannah knew this. She also knew some of my coworkers followed me. I don't know exactly what she said or how she framed it, but one day, my manager pulled me aside and told me that there had been concerns raised about my behavior outside of work. Nothing came of it because there was nothing to come of it. I hadn't done anything wrong, but the fact that she actually tried to mess with my livelihood over this, that was when I knew she was completely unhinged. So I finally stopped playing nice. I put out my own statement, nothing dramatic, just a simple post explaining what happened and shutting down the lies. I included proof that she had been contacting my ex, proof that I had never been anything but respectful toward her interests, and proof that she had tried to get me in trouble at work. I didn't attack her, didn't call her names, didn't even say she was a bad person. I just laid out the facts. And guess what? Suddenly people started turning on her. Turns out, people don't like realizing they were manipulated. Some of the same friends who had cut me off started reaching out again, saying they didn't know the full story. Even people on her side started distancing themselves when they saw how far she was willing to go just to take me down. Her whole narrative started falling apart. I don't know what Hannah expected to happen, but I don't think she planned for me to fight back. She probably thought I'd just sit there and take it while she burned my reputation to the ground. But now she's the one dealing with the fallout. Some of her friends won't even talk to her anymore because they realized she lied to them. And as for me, I'm finally done with all of it. At the end of the day, I lost some people I thought were my friends, but honestly, if they were so quick to believe the worst about me without even asking for my side, they were never really my friends to begin with. I'm not going to sit around worrying about people who didn't care enough to think for themselves. So yeah, that's how I got my life turned upside down, because I booed at the Super Bowl. I don't regret calling Hannah out. I don't regret setting the record straight. The only thing I do regret is ever dating someone who thought a pop star was more important than the truth. Comments. Commenter 1. To a point, a person likes what they like. If she were 13, this would sound a bit more normal and I'd think she'd grow out of it. But if she's been exposed to other stuff and still fangirls over Taylor, that ship has probably sailed. The only thing she should really think about is the misogyny quote. Does she not think it's possible to have music preferences without hating someone's entire gender? She should probably also try reading opinions written about Taylor's music as well as other artists, or even finding out what Tay herself listens to. Maybe it will get her out of seeing everyone else's music only through that narrow lens. Commenter 2. My girlfriend and I are both 40 years of age. I don't know how or why her obsession began with Taylor Swift up until recently, but it has been driving me crazy. The only thing I can think of is that I decided to attend the Eras Tour movie with her, not concert the movie, and apparently that was inspiration enough for her to blast Taylor constantly. It's gotten to the point where I have to politely ask if she can at least put on headphones. Swiftie commenter. Why are you complaining? I wish I had a girlfriend that loved Taylor Swift like I do because she is my queen and I'll do anything for Taylor Swift. I think about Taylor Swift every day. Reply to Swiftie. Taylor Swift has like 2 good choruses and then the rest is just filler. Nothing really interesting musically. Lyrically, she has some good stuff, but it is pointless considering she doesn't use musical devices at all, it seems. Bland population.